Hey, Baron, all you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. Thank you for coming. Those that may not know, my name is Baron Angel. I'm the librarian at the Florida Public Library, also the program coordinator. And more relevant to this meeting, I am also the current chair of the RCLS Battle of the Books Committee. Here in 2022, after an unprecedented virtual battle last year, we have a lot of new coaches who are hoping to learn about the battle, to be able to better run their teams this year. They haven't done this before. We also have some people of the children's librarian variety who are hoping to learn about the battle because we've discussed the option of potentially including younger students as part of the battle in the future, potentially with multiple different age brackets to accommodate that. So we're hoping to get some children's librarians interested as well. And I know a few of those are here today as well. For those of you who are watching this recording later, this should include all the information you need to be a coach in the battle and to understand the battle. If you have any questions, you can always contact the current battle officers. Their contact information is on the battle LibGuide, a link to which will be provided in the description of this video. And to those who are attending and are here live, thank you for joining us. Please save questions until the end, and we'll cover them then. Also joining me today is RCLS Youth Services Consultant Joanna Goldfarb. She's going to help out with a few portions of this as well. So today's topics, we're going to cover a wide array of things and hopefully give you a good overview of the battle with certain things. We won't necessarily get into nitty-gritty detail, but it should be enough that you have an idea of what's going on. We'll talk about what is the Battle of the Books, where did it come from, things like that. Who are the battle committee? What is it that we do, and how does that work? What is the general annual schedule that we follow in preparation and in conducting the battle? What should you as a battle coach be doing, and what are the expectations there? How do the practice battles work, and how does the buzzer system work for use in both the practice battles and the regional battle? And then, of course, what happens at the regional battle? What will be occurring on the day of, and how will that proceed? And we'll take questions at the end from anybody who has questions. So what is the Battle of the Books? Well, the Battle of the Books is a College Bowl type program for teens entering 6th through 12th grade in the September of or following the battle, depending on whether the battle itself is in August or September. So those grades they should be entering, meaning seniors who graduate the previous June would not be eligible to compete. That's always a sticking point sometimes. Participants in the battle will read 8 pre-selected titles in different genres and then participate in a regional battle in August or September, which is a trivia competition based on those books. The goal of the program is to promote a love of reading in teens, to expose them to authors and genres they might not read otherwise, that might not initially appeal to them, to encourage them to think of their local public library as a resource for entertainment as well as education, and to inspire teamwork and good sportsmanship in this atmosphere of friendly competition. The titles are chosen by representatives of the libraries, namely the committee members, and we do include a variety of genres to meet the varying tastes. The goal being that for any given team that is participating, at least one of the books should be something that appeals to their interests. So how did the battle start? Where did it come from? Well, the RCLS battle was created in 2006 by Lisa Lyko at the Albert Wisner Public Library in Warwick, New York, and her staff over there. And the first year they did it, it was an in-house battle purely among teens in the Warwick Library District. And in 2007, they contacted a couple of neighboring libraries who had expressed interest, and those 3 libraries participated in the battle that year. And then starting in 2008, it was decided to open the battle to RCLS as a whole, and therein a committee was established to plan and operate the battle on an annual basis and to ensure things ran smoothly. And that's kind of where we are today. Depending on whether you count 2020, in which we didn't have a battle, strictly speaking, we are this year at the 16th anniversary of the Battle of Books. Yes. So the committee, what do we do? So the committee is primarily comprised of teen and youth services librarians from across RCLS. all on a volunteer basis. Certainly no one's required to do this. And we are responsible for planning and carrying out the battle. That includes selecting the titles, creating a bracket, amending the rules, and putting together the actual regional battle itself. Officers are selected from among those members, including a chair, an outgoing chair, an incoming chair, question editor, and of course, the youth services consultant, currently Joanna. And apart from that position, all the officers are generally also coaches of teams from their respective libraries. I coach the Florida team, and so on. That's not always the case, but more often than not, the officers also are coaching a team. So who are the current officers? Well, I am the current chair. As I mentioned, I'm from out here at the Florida Public Library. The current outgoing chair, who has been the chair for at least 5 years previous, probably more than that. We've legitimately lost track at this point. Diana Moan, teen librarian from over at the Finkelstein Memorial Library in Spring Valley. She is the foremost authority on Battle of the Books. The incoming chair position is currently vacant. If you're interested in being next year's chair, please do contact us. Our question editor is Amelia Estep, the teen and adult programmer over at the Ellenville Public Library and Museum. And again, Joanna is our current youth services consultant. That's the one that doesn't really change all that much. There's only been 2 of those since this started. We do have 2 subcommittees also. They handle specific responsibilities. The Rules Committee is responsible for if the Battle Committee as a whole decides that there are changes that should be made to the rules, they will outline those changes, provide that outline to the Rules Committee, and it is the Rules Committee the Rules Committee's responsibility to edit the rules document to put those changes in and then bring it back to the committee proper for approval. The bracket committee is responsible for putting together the actual bracket that we use for the competition proper. It is a March Madness style bracket, if you're familiar with that sort of thing, where teams go head to head, and we'll talk about that a little more when we get to the regional battle. So what does the annual schedule look like? What is it that we do throughout the course of the year? Because this is a year-long process. It's not something that we just throw together in August. There are a lot of steps involved. Generally speaking, it starts in the fall around October when we have an initial planning meeting and we put out requests to coaches and other members for suggestions for what titles should be included. We will additionally take a look at recommendations from participating teams from the previous battle. As part of a survey that we have them take at the end, they also recommend titles they'd like to see, and we try to take that into consideration as well. By December, we will have chosen the list of the 8 titles for that year's battle, and we will make that list available to everyone. January at the absolute latest if scheduling gets a little weird. In January, we will assign committee members to write the questions for the 8 titles. Nobody is obligated into doing this, but certainly we welcome volunteers for it. You only have to do 1 book. The expectation is generally about 120 questions, so that 100 could be for the battle proper and 20 for practice questions for the practice battles, which we will also talk about. It's a great help. Amelia does all the editing of the questions once they're done in order to make sure that they are up to snuff. Then everybody works on their questions for a while, and then by April, the questions are due, and that's really the point at which we start direct planning of the regional battle itself to make sure that we start accommodating for all the details, including securing the necessary volunteers from judges to timekeeper, question reader, people to handle the prize room, all sorts of things that we might need on the day of. And we start planning for that, as well as securing our venue and other details that go into the planning for that. In May and June, reservations can be made for the buzzer system if you'd like to borrow it for a practice battle, which we'll talk about that a little later. And then in July is the deadline for coaches and their libraries to commit to participating for the year, to pay the required participation fee, and the practice questions will also be distributed in early July if that has not already happened soon. And then lastly, in either very late August or very early September, the annual Battle of the Books competition is held, also known as the regional battle in some sections of this presentation. Now you might be wondering, how do we select those 8 titles every year? How does that work? Well, titles are nominated by committee members as well as suggested by teams, as I mentioned, and we hold meetings in the fall and debate the merits of the varying titles. There is a criterion list that we use to consider the titles. They certainly need to have literary merit, content appropriateness for the target audience is consideration, and a number of other things. There is a separate document with more detail on that available. Generally speaking, the titles that we choose are of the young adult variety. On occasion, there may be a juvenile title or an adult title, such as this year we have Good Omens. Usually that's to accommodate for the lower or higher end of our age range for something that's more akin to their level, but we do try to stick to young adult titles whenever possible. The 8 genres that we represent during the battle include classics. This could be anything from, something from, say, Charles Dickens to A Wrinkle in Time, Chronicles of Narnia, anything that most people would consider a classic that's easily recognizable literature. Contemporary, that's just a book that represents modern life. This year's is Darius the Great is Not Okay by Adib Khorram. In the past, we've used things like The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, titles of that variety that show modern contemporary life. Fantasy and science fiction, a bit self-explanatory. This could be, again, anything fantasy style from The Golden Compass and Chronicles of Narnia to a science fiction title, something like Ready Player One or Ender's Game, anything like that. Graphic novels, we do include at least one graphic novel each year in order to accommodate those who are more visual readers as opposed to text readers. Certainly there's a lot of popularity, especially among the teen audience, for graphic novels. Historical fiction, something that, while is a fictitious story, ties into legitimate history. This year's is The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys, which takes place after World War II or during the dictatorship of Franco in Spain. A humor title, a book that is written purely to be lighthearted, funny, and enjoyable. In the past, we've used things like Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, so on and so forth. This year's is the aforementioned Good Omens. A mystery title, again, kind of a self-explanatory genre, something that features a mystery of some kind or another. This could be, again, this year is The Inheritance Games, but in the past, it could be any number of popular mystery titles. We've used One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus, which was very popular last year. And lastly, a nonfiction title, something focused on events that actually occurred. Last year, we used Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson, talking about his establishment of a law firm to represent those charged with crimes with a racial bias in the South. And this year, that is The Cat I Never Named by Amr Sadak El Reyes, who is actually local from Tuxedo, and that talks about her experience and the experiences of others in Syria regarding having to evacuate that country. So those are the genres we always represent. That way we do have a variety of titles. There have been instances in the past where a title in a given genre could also qualify for another genre. That's not to say that it's exclusive. For example, this year, our classic is The Odyssey, but it's the graphic novel adaptation by Gareth Hines. So sometimes there may be a title that crosses genres. We're counting it in one, even though it could count in more than one. That also means that if we use a title in the past, it could be reused later in a different genre. An example of that would be The Golden Compass. That was used as a science fiction or fantasy, I should say, at one point in the past. And that was also used as the classic title a couple of years ago, too. So certainly titles can get reused, especially if there are more than one genre. Though we do certainly try to vary it up and bring in newer unused titles to keep things fresh. So as a battle coach, what should you be doing? So battle coaches are responsible for organizing the team from their library and helping that team prepare for the battle in varying ways. This includes recruiting local teams to be on your team. This can be done yourself. Sometimes it helps to work through your local school district. They might be able to get the word out. Other resources like that to help get interested teens to participate. introducing your team to the concept of the battle, explaining the rules, ensuring they understand how it all works, holding meetings at your schedule to discuss that year's selected titles, and perform any other tasks that might be required for preparation, including designing T-shirts to wear at the regional battle. Not a requirement, but something a lot of the teams like to do to help identify their team and feel more unified. Holding practice battles either among your own team members at your library or against a team from a neighboring library. Oftentimes that will happen. And of course, accompanying your team to the regional battle and supervising their participation throughout, including making sure that they are on stage when called and when they need to be, that they stay together, and that substitutions are made between rounds if necessary if you have more than 5 team members. Depending on how your setup is and how it's run at your library, you may also be responsible for ensuring that the required participation fees are submitted, though certainly your accounting or bill paying department may handle that for you, as well as ensuring that you attend regular committee meetings if possible, simply to keep up on the goings on of the battle, making sure that the titles are available for your team so that they can check those out and get those read, things of that nature. And of course, being on the book battle listserv to keep tabs on all the up-to-date information that's going on pertaining to the battle so that you are informed. Now, what are the requirements if you're going to have a team? There are a few. Your team must have at least 2 members and no more than 10 members. Anywhere in that range is fine. We have had teams with 2 do really well and teams with 10 people do really poorly. The number of teams you have is not necessarily reflective of how they will perform. Team members, as I mentioned earlier, have to be entering 6th through 12th grades the September of or after the battle, depending on what the battle falls. Graduating seniors of the previous year need not apply. The library has to pay a $75 entry fee to RCLS on behalf of their team. In extenuating circumstances, such as last year for our virtual battle, we have reduced that fee, but $75 is the general standard fee. Libraries are permitted to field multiple teams if they have enough teams to do that. If there's enough interest and they have a lot of people, we've had libraries come with 2 teams before. You can do that. The only thing to keep in mind with that is that you cannot swap members between your teams at the battle. Your teams are set, will have set members. And also that each of those teams needs to pay a separate entry fee and does need to have its own coach. One person cannot be coaching multiple teams just because, number one, that would require a significant amount of focus that most people can't muster, but also because there is a distinct possibility those 2 teams could end up facing each other, meaning there is still a competitive element between those 2 teams, even though they are from the same library. So do keep that in mind. Additionally, if you are trying to put together a team and you only have a few members, certainly contact a neighboring library, see if they have a team, and pool your resources. That's absolutely allowed. Even if the team is made up of teams from multiple libraries, as long as it's still one team, it's only 1 entry fee, which you can all split amongst yourselves however you see fit. And it only needs 1 coach, so you only need 1 staff member collectively from those libraries to run it, which can often make it a lot easier for libraries who may not have a staff member dedicated to team services and therefore may not have time to have someone in charge of it, but has interested teams, or a library that wants to participate but only has 1 or 2 teams and is looking to expand their team to more easily field a group to compete. So certainly that's allowed. And it doesn't even have to be 2, it could be more than that. We had, I think in the 2019 battle, we had a team that was 4 joint libraries working together on a single team. So certainly that's absolutely a way to get into the battle if you want to participate, but interest is becoming an issue. Another recommendation I'll throw out real quick. I know that there have been coaches in the past who have recruited team members by offering volunteer hours for participation. So that's certainly also a way to potentially entice your teams to come in and participate in that if that's something you and obviously your supervisors and or director are comfortable giving out. Also to remind them, of course, there are prizes for participating. They're going to get a bag of candy and goodies and some free books, no matter how well they do. And if they do well, they're going to win some cash and possibly an author visit. So definitely worthwhile there. So practice battles and the buzzer system. As I mentioned, practice battles could be among just your teams, just divide your teams in half at practice, or you can make a deal with a neighboring library to do a battle between two different libraries as a test. Practice questions will be distributed by the question editor in early July. You make sure that everyone has those so that practice battles can commence. It will be about 20 questions per book. You can randomize them, choose them as desired, however you want to handle that for your respective battle. As I mentioned, 2 or more teams, either from your library or from yours and a neighboring library. Practice battles can also be a great way if you have more than 10 interested teams, but you don't want to field multiple teams. That can also be a great way to evaluate the skills of your team to determine which members you're going to bring with you to the battle. You may need to watch their participation, gauge how well they do, both in knowledge answering to questions and in willingness and ability to hit that buzzer quickly, and that may help you evaluate who you're going to bring with you. Certainly, we don't want to leave anybody out. It's unfortunate, but sometimes you're only a couple over the limit, and you don't want to put out another $75 and track a coach down for 2 people. Sometimes it happens that way, unfortunately. So RCLS has 2 buzzer systems that we do use during the regional battle, and those are loaned out during the months of July and August for the purposes of libraries using them for a practice battle. One circulates around Rockland County and one around Orange, Sullivan, and Southern Ulster, respectively. Joanna puts out a schedule, which you can use to reserve the buzzer. That schedule is available. So feel free to, if you don't have a link to that, contact Joanna. She will provide you with a link to that, and you can certainly reserve that. However, it's worth keeping in mind that the buzzers cannot go through RCLS delivery. So if you are going to be using it, you need to arrange to pick it up from the person who has it before you and to get it to the person who has it after you. So it can often be helpful to try to arrange the schedule to get it when a neighbor is going to have it, so you don't have to drive halfway across the system to get your buzzer if avoidable. So with that, there is a bit of nuance that goes into working the buzzer system. So I'm going to turn it over to Joanna for a few minutes, and she's going to demonstrate exactly how the buzzer system works.
All right, thank you, Baron. So yes, after I show everyone how to set up the buzzer system, I will put those links that Baron was referring to to schedule the buzzer if you would like it this year in the chat. It's also worth noting that although the buzzers are reserved over the summer for Battle of the Books, if you have a program during the year, like a Jeopardy program or something like that, and you want to use the buzzer, you can use them the other 10 months of the year as well. Okay, so I have the buzzer behind me. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, can everyone see this lovely box? All right, so this is what the buzzer arrives in. We do have 2 of them. If you don't remember everything from today, that's okay, because in this front pocket, there is a diagram for how to pack the buzzer and unpack the buzzer, as well as instructions. So once the buzzer starts going out, also in this front pocket will be a printout of the schedule, so you will know exactly who will have the buzzer after you. So open up the box. It looks intimidating. This is the inside, but it's not that bad. So there will be a power pack. I did already plug it in, but it looks like an adapter with a plug. There are 2 of these phone wires that we'll use to connect the buzzers to each other. There are 2 of these boxes. this box with the lights on it will go with each team. So this is what we're actually going to connect the buzzers to. So there are 2 of these, 1 for each team. Hasn't come out of this box for a while. Here's the other one. And then we have this main buzzer box. So for the actual battle, this is what the judges use to reset the buzzers after each question. There's a pause button. So, you know, teams like to buzz a lot. So when you are using this as a coach, put it on pause if you want them to pay attention to what you're saying, and then flip that switch up to run when you're ready to actually start the battle. And then over here is the reset button so that you can continue with your battle. Also in here are the actual buzzers. So I'm going to only set up one side of this instead of the entire system. It's the same on both sides. And as you are setting this up, it really is kind of a round peg, round hole kind of situation. So when you look at it, this is the judge's side. You have a spot here that fits this telephone cord. And it goes right in. And there is the same thing on this panel that the teams have. There's nowhere else that can go, so they plug into each other. Next, I have the adapter cord here to give it power. So I just plugged it in where it says power. And there will be 10 of these buzzers in each kit. I'm only going to plug in 1 or 2 for now. Each of these boxes that will be on the teams table can accommodate 5 buzzers. And I will say that, again, if you use this for a different program, this box can connect to 4 of these. So you could potentially have 4 teams using the same box if you want to do a larger trivia program. Okay, so we're going to plug this in. Oh, there we go. That's pretty much it. So each buzzer makes a different sound. So this one is kind of high pitched. When I plug the other one in, if I was going to plug it in, it would make a lower sound so that when the moderator hears what's going on, it's very clear which team has buzzed. You can also see that it lights up. Reset that. So one of the rules is that the person who buzzes in has to answer. So this is one way that we know who actually buzzed in because it lights up. So if I move the buzzer to a different spot, a different light will light up. On the judge's end, so this is, I connected this to box A. It also lights up on A so we can see which team has buzzed in case the sound doesn't indicate that as well. That's pretty much the entire buzzer system. Again, there are 2 of these boxes, 1 for each team. When a question is over and it's ready for the next question to be read and the team to buzz in again, you just click the reset button and you can see that on this box, the light went off. So if you buzz in, the light will stay on and you will be unable to buzz in again until you hit reset. Does anyone have any questions about the the buzzer system. Okay, I will put the links to sign up for it in the chat for the summer. We do have 2 buzzer systems. One of them has a buzzer that's slow, and it's noticeably slow, I have heard. If you get that buzzer, please mark it off. I don't know, put a note on it so that we know not to use that particular buzzer during the battle. That's pretty much it. So Baron, I will hand it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Joanna. We appreciate that. That was very informative. Go back into PowerPoint. All right. All right, so that was our buzzer demonstration. Very useful system. So outside of buzzers, what actually happens at the regional battle? What does this event entail? What can you expect? So that's a general overview. The regional battle will take place in person at a designated venue, usually on the campus of SUNY Orange somewhere in Middletown. And the event officially begins at 12 noon and ends approximately 4 p.m., depending on exactly how long the match is run and how many teams we have. Teams are responsible for arriving no later than 11 a.m. to be checked in. Earlier is always better. That gives us enough time to get everybody the paperwork that they need to have. We will give everyone a copy of the bracket and make that available. We will give everyone information on anything else that's going on that day that they need to have. All the details will be handed out so that they know what's going on and when. There is a complimentary pizza lunch for the teams. Coupons for that will be distributed to coaches in advance. Each team should get 2 pizza coupons to get 2 slices of pizza. Pizza is only for the teams and the coaches, however, so please make sure if any parents are coming to watch and hang out, which they are welcome to, they don't get pizza. It would get very expensive if we had to buy pizza for all the parents on top of the teams and everyone else. Joanna's already putting a good chunk of our budget toward pizza. So please do let them know, the parents know, however, if they'd like to bring some of their own food, snacks, a brown bag lunch, they could certainly eat that in the food area that is designated for that when the time comes. We also encourage everybody to bring a water bottle with you. Keep yourself hydrated. We will have plenty of water and drinks as well, but bringing your own does not hurt. While eating, teams will be encouraged to kind of separate themselves out, handle any last minute preparations. Coaches can give a motivating pep talk, things of that nature. Get yourselves ready to go. Just before 12 p.m., so that we can start on time, teams will move into the auditorium or competition room or wherever it's happening. This year, we're going to be outside on the ground, so there'll just be more moving from one area of the grounds to another. And the teams will take their seats, which will be near the front of the audience area, and parents and spectators can sit in the middle and back areas. This is to make it easier for teams to get to and from the stage as they need. So after some brief introductions, the question reader will announce which 2 teams will be participating in a round and call them up, and they will make their way up to the stage. The teams will take their seats at the 2 respective tables on either side. The buzzers will already be there and installed. Each of them will pick up a buzzer, and once they're ready, the question reader will begin asking questions. The team that thinks they know the answer will try to buzz in first. If they get it right, they'll get a point. We'll cover the rules in more depth in just a moment. At the end of the round, whichever team has 4 points will move on. The other team will drop to the lower bracket, and both teams will go and sit down, and the next 2 teams will come up for the next round. We will have, again, the bracket made available, both on paper, online, and likely either on a large screen or a big poster paper, but in some manner where everybody in the room can easily see it. And we will go through the rounds one by one. After a team has lost their second battle, they are considered to be eliminated from the competition. When that happens, it is the responsibility of their coach to escort that team to the designated prize area, which is usually the same place that we had the pizza and food earlier in the day. Once there will be a supervisor of the prize room, and they will ensure that each team member is given a prize bag filled with candy and assorted goodies. And those teams will be given an opportunity to take some free books from our free book table. Exactly how many is dependent on how many books we have total and how many participants there are. They will also at that time be asked to take that survey I mentioned earlier, where they're asked to reflect on their participation and the performance and the overall competition. What did they think? How did it go? As well as recommend titles that we might be interested in using for future battles that they would like to see. After this, that team is then free to leave. They can go home if they want to. Certainly, if they want to remain and watch the rest of the battle, they're welcome to, but there is no obligation after that point. You are done for the year. So at that point, you can go home. So lastly, but certainly not least before questions, I'm just going to give a quick primer on the rules of the battle, just to go over it. I'm going to go ahead and open up the rules document. I will screen share that, so everybody can see those. No, I don't want to redeem free Office 360 stuff. Okay. Screen share. Let's go over here. This document, like all the other documents, is available on the Battle of the Books LibGuide. Again, I will give a link to current participants before they leave. Those are here today. And if you're watching the recording later, it is down in the video description along with other useful information. So please do check that out. So, as mentioned, each team has 2 to 10 players. No more than 5 players can be on stage together at a time. It is the responsibility of the coach and the team members to choose which 5 will participate in each round. Substitutions cannot be made mid-round, only between rounds. When the teams come up, they will be asked a question. The questions are formatted in such a way that the answer will always be the title and author of one of the 8 books. So, for example, you will never get a question of, in Harry Potter, where do his aunt and uncle force him to sleep? And the answer being the cupboard under the stairs. That will never be formatted that way. It will always be, in which book does a boy sleep in a cupboard under the stairs? And the answer would be Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Although we learned we won't use that one again because that year it applied to 2 different books and we had to throw it out, but that's neither here nor there. Pronunciation is important with regards to both the titles and the author names. A pronunciation guide will be provided to all coaches so that teams can practice saying the author's names. Some of them can get difficult, especially if they are not American names or names that Americans are used to pronouncing. For example, our nonfiction book this year is Amra Sabrik El Reyes. That's not necessarily a name that's, for a lot of Americans, easy to pronounce at first. But we will make sure that you have audio pronunciations in order to make sure that you can pronounce those correctly. It is up to the judges to determine whether a pronunciation is close enough to be accepted. Joanna is one of our judges. She and the other judge will ensure that those are taken into account when an answer is given. They will also determine who buzzes in first. Joanna is manager of the buzzers on stage. She will make sure the question reader knows who buzzed in first so they can be called on. When a team buzzes in, they will have 5 seconds to confer among themselves. And then whoever buzzed in must be the person to answer the question. If they get it correctly, they get a point. If they do not, the question reader will repeat the question, and then the other team will have a chance to respond and potentially steal the point. If both teams get it wrong, no point is awarded, and another question will be used. The number of questions per round is based on how many rounds we have to have, which is based on how many teams we have. But generally, it is somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 questions per round. Sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, but somewhere in that neighborhood. As mentioned, at the end of a round, the teams will sit down, and the team who was successful will continue on in the main bracket. The team who was unsuccessful will move down into the lower bracket. The winner of the lower bracket is declared the third place victor of the overall competition. So even if you lose your first round, you could still walk out with third place and a cash prize. So there's definitely still motivation to keep competing there. All is not lost. The teams in the upper bracket will also continue competing, and in the final round, the winning team will be declared the winner, and they will receive the grand prize of a virtual or in-person author visit from the author of one of the titles of the year. And the second place will also receive a cash prize. Second place is $150. Third place is $100. Lists of the titles are available on stage on the respective desks for the teams to refer to during the competition. And it is the responsibility of the teams to make sure that they are adhering to those rules. If someone calls out an answer when they're not supposed to, that can lead to disqualifications or other consequences. So it's important to make sure that that is adhered to. If teens answer a question, they're told it's wrong and they think it's right, they can challenge that question, and it's the responsibility of the judges to review that challenge and determine if they are correct. We have had situations come up in the past, though we try to avoid it, where the answer to a question applied to more than one book. And if that happens, then the question will be removed and a new question will be asked in place. No points will be awarded for that question. I believe that's everything about the general battle itself. Team members cannot have anything else on stage with them other than the provided list of titles, no electronic devices, no copies of the books. I don't think we even allow them to have water bottles or anything like that. So their items should remain at their seats when they go up on stage. And by the time we get all the rounds done, it should be about 4 o'clock, and there will be a photo shoot with the top 3 teams. They will be given their prizes in the event of cash prizes, or the author visit will be organized. And each team will receive a banner announcing their position, which they get to keep along with bragging rights for 1 year. So with all of that said, are there any questions? Joanna has put the buzzer sign-up links in the description, so please feel free to use those. Does anyone currently present have any questions that I can answer? Remember, if you have a question now, chances are people watching this recording in the future will also have the same questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
How long, like if someone was to challenge a question, typically about how long would it take for the like the judges to review and confirm whether the challenge is valid or not?
That's a good question, Joanna.
So usually it's pretty quick. A lot of the challenges will be of the nature, this question, the answer could be multiple books. And that's just, we're all human, we make mistakes. The question got through when it shouldn't have. So the judges, we do read all of the books. So usually it's very clear to us that yes, in fact, that question does have multiple answers, in which case we'll just say, you're right, we'll throw out the question, and then a new question is asked. It's usually pretty quick. If it takes 2 minutes, that's a long time, typically.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, generally speaking, the judges will have also read the books. They'll be familiar with them, so it shouldn't be overtly difficult for them to determine if something applies to more than one book. So.
I will add that only the team members who are currently playing can challenge. So if you have team members who are not currently playing, they cannot challenge. The coach can't challenge. Parents can't challenge. That has been an issue in the past. So only the team members currently playing that round can challenge the question.
I actually have a logistics question. In years past, it was in the auditorium. This year, it is going to be outside. Has any discussion taken place amongst the committee on whether water bottles or something of that nature might be allowable on the stage this year if it is particularly icky?
We have not discussed it. We're actually having a committee meeting tomorrow. I would guess that everyone will be okay with that.
Yeah, I did explicitly bring up at the last meeting that we are going to try to have plenty of extra water for everyone. It's certainly in an outdoor environment in August heat. We're going to make allowances for that. My hope is to get some of the large jugs of water with a pump on the top so everybody can just sort of fill up their water as needed. So hopefully we should be okay. But absolutely, we're not going to let anybody sit up there and dehydrate.
Thank you.
And Sam asked a question in the chat, since it's outside, are we allowed to bring our own tents? Yes, please do bring a tent.
That's a good idea.
Our contact at SUNY Orange was checking with Building and Grounds to see if we could put stakes in the ground to hold down the tent. I haven't received an answer yet, so bring weights just in case to hold the tent down. But yes, please do bring a tent. Where we'll be outside, it will be very sunny. They're reserving 2 areas outside for us. So one is in the shade, and that's going to be where the pizza will be served and where the prize books will be. But the battle proper is just in a really big field. Mm-hmm. So bring tents, bring sunscreen, bring extra water.
I will be bringing my very large 10 by 30 tent. So there will be at least a decent sized tent over the audience area, but any others that we have, we could certainly bring in to sort of keep everybody shaded as necessary to do what we have to do.
I will also mention that SUNY Orange, in addition to reserving outdoor area, if there's really bad weather, they are also saving our usual space in the auditorium. So if it's raining, COVID permitting, we can go inside.
Yes, absolutely. So that's very nice of them to do that. They're also, my understanding, they're also providing chairs and making sure that we have that handled. So that's also a big help.
Yes. Although bring along a lawn chair, because I don't know how comfortable the chairs are.
Yeah, certainly if you have a comfortable lawn chair, bring it with you. It's not going to hurt. Right.
Are there any other questions, either about the battle or any differences this year since it's outdoors, anything like that?
For the benefit of adding one more thing, I will just do this briefly. Let me just open this up real quick because the cursor needed this one hurt to just go over this. There we go. Okay. Let me screen share this. So again, we'll put out the link to this. This is the Teen Librarians Lib Guide, and we do have a Battle of the Books page here, which has all the information regarding the battle. If you have any questions about things or need to check up on things, this is the place to go. The list of titles, which are directly linked into the Enterprise catalog, are over here. We have videos of previous battles. For an in-person battle, there are 2 videos here from 2018, so you can check those out. These are in the auditorium at SUNY Orange. And we also have the full recording of our 2021 virtual battle, which was done online through Zoom. So you can certainly watch the entirety of that if you are interested. There is a list of the important dates that are coming up regarding deadlines and when things are happening, as well as links to all of the essential documents you might need. This Battle of the Books FAQ link is currently broken. That was linked to something on the old RCLS site, and Joanne and I are going to get that changed over. We just realized that this morning. But otherwise, the rest of these are all good. This new coach packet, I have just updated this. So for the benefit of everyone here, you're definitely going to want to read that. I'll put that in there. That one has all the updated information that should help you if you're coaching for the first time. Definitely read that over. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. We also have the official rules for both in-person and virtual battles. Stick to the in-person ones for this year. Those are the ones that we're using. If there's any changes to it, we will update the rules at that link. But as of now, they're the most up-to-date ones. There's also information on the book selection process if you're interested in that and potentially being a part of that next year, as well as the bylaws for our committee and our group, the template for writing questions. Last year's battle results and pronunciation guide are here if you'd like to take a look at those. I will be taking those down and replacing them with this year's once they're available, but right now those are there as well. And I think I got your question there, Sam. But yes, the rules that are up here on the LibGuide, those are the official rules for this year's battle. As far as I'm aware, I believe we chose to eschew any major changes due to coming back to an in-person battle. The only major change we made was the agreement that we will allow the teams to have a list of books on stage with them. That's, I believe, the only thing that we have changed since the previous rules. There's also a list of the officers, myself, Diane, Amelia. Our contact information is here should you require it. Please feel free to get in touch with us if you have questions, need information, things of that nature. I think somewhere, okay, well, if it's not on here, it's easy enough to hit the RCLS website if you need Joanna's contact information. That is certainly available. We also have last year's winners. Last year, Mamakating was the winning library. New City took second, and Middletown Thrall took third. We will put the new winners up there once we have those. And everything, again, on here will be updated as needed. So this is your general go-to resource for everything Battle of the Books. If you have any further questions about this, please feel free to get in contact with myself, Joanna. We're happy to provide information. If you're watching this recording in the future, check that LibGuide. It will have the current officers. If it does not happen to be us, it'll probably still be Joanna. But otherwise, whoever's in charge will be there. We're happy to answer questions for you and make sure that you are ready to go. And if you're watching this and you're interested in participating in the battle and you have not done so, please feel free to attend a committee meeting to get a more direct feel of what's happening, especially in the fall when we start selecting titles and planning for next year's battle. That's a good time to jump in and start being involved. During that time, our battle meetings are typically right before the teen librarians meetings at 9 a.m. in the morning on whatever day those meetings are happening. So definitely feel free to join us for those. Also, if you're a children's librarian and you're watching this, we are hoping to expand the age range of the competition at some point in the future, maybe not next year, but maybe the year after. Potentially doing 2 different brackets, one that runs maybe like a 4th grade through 7th, and one that maybe runs like an 8th through 12th. Those aren't set in stone, but just some general ideas. Our neighboring systems do it that way. Their age ranges vary, but we're hoping to try to bring it more in line with the way they do things so that in the probably more distant future, we could do some kind of a joint system battle for a sort of equivalent of state level. And eventually, I know Nyla has a committee working on creating a full-on state battle for all those systems, both school and public, that have battles around the state. So that's an inevitable goal way down the line. Last chance if there are any further questions. If not, we will go ahead and wrap up this recording. This recording will be posted and made available. We'll send the link out to everybody so that you can check it out. I will post it on the LibGuide. We will make it available to you. And I hope that all this information was informative and that it was not overwhelming and that you find it useful going forward. Thank you for attending. If you're live today, thank you for watching. We'll see you at the battle.